everyone, and welcome to this week's show. So today I'm going to do a small little video. It's going to be on foam. So I was asked a question by a gentleman earlier this week about doing his layout and adding foam for the base of it. And I had a little project that I was going to be working on anyway for my cap on my Polar Express layout. So I wanted to kind of discuss a little bit about foam so that you have kind of an idea that you don't have to spend a lot of money going to the stores and buying like the Woodland Scenics foam. You can just go to your hardware store. This is just 1/2 inch insulation foam. I've used 2-inch and inch as well. It doesn't matter the size, it just depends on what kind of depth that you want to go with. But what I really wanted to go over here was how to glue it together. So a lot of people have tried different kind of tactics on it. People have used wood glue, people have used, and I have too, I've used the Woodland Scenics foam glue. It doesn't do a bad job, but it's kind of expensive. So let's get these pieces out of the way here for just a second. I'm gonna just set them back and out. My first piece that I'm going to use here for my layout is an 8 1/8 inch piece by an 8 1/8 inch piece. Now on my layout for my Polar Express deal, this is going to sit down in, and this is what's going to hold it in place because there's a cutout that is this size. So anyway, so my first piece that I want to glue up is this right here. Like I said, you can use foam tack glue. It works fine. It's kind of pricey and it takes a while for it to set up. It does go on there. It doesn't make a problem, an indention or anything else, unfortunately, like hot melt does. So let's talk about hot melt. I know a lot of people like to use hot melt, but with foam, the problem with hot melt is as you put it in, it creates, I'm going to try to show this as best as possible to keep my finger there on it. It actually creates an indentation and it will melt the foam. So using hot melt is not the best ideal spot for this. So I highly do not recommend using hot melt at all for when you're putting on foam. So we're gonna unplug that, get this out of the way. What I do use for foam the most is PL 200 or liquid nails. Either one is perfectly fine. This stuff hardens up good. Takes a couple hours for it to really set up. It's this big tube is about the same as this, and I have a lot more uses for this thing. So even if I don't use all of this tube, I can tape it up and I can use it for other projects around the house or anything else. So to me, I would much rather buy this than this foam tack glue. So we are going to use this. All right, so what we're going to do here is use some PL 200 to attach our layout piece down. And I run a bead around the edge, is all I do, and kind of fill in. There's not a right or wrong to this as far as whether or not you want to create lines in it like I have done there, or if you want to turn around and just use little dabs on there. Either way is perfectly fine. Now I am going to build this up in several sheets and then I'm going to let it dry, and then we're going to come back and take my little foam cutter and we're going to cut part of the layout out. Now if you actually see me doing this little jiggle, what I'm doing is, if you can see when you put down a piece of PL 200 or even the foam tack glue or any glue, of course it's bunched up just a little tiny bit with there. So what I'm doing is actually flattening it out. So when you cover this over, instead of just pushing straight down on it, it bunches up. But if you actually side to side, it helps flatten the glue out to make that seal a little better. So now that I've got all this done, come back up top, get all my weight up on it, get it really sealed down nice and tight. And now I've got my glue all set up. When I'm doing a layout, I generally like to leave this set up overnight before I come back through and start on that. But in a couple hours, this part will be set up enough and we will get started doing the foam cutout pieces to it. So we'll be back here shortly. All right, so I've given it time for it to dry up and everything is solid on my foam now. Now what I want to do is actually cut it out. What I've done is actually marked out on my board area my overall dimension that I can do for this. Now what I like to use is a foam cutting tool. I actually purchased this off of Amazon. This is a variable voltage, so it works nice as far as how much heat you want to give. It's completely tear downable. It has different attachments that you can use with it. I will leave a link in the description for this one as well, so that way if you guys choose to purchase it. It's gochange electronic foam cutting tool. Really nice setup. So let's get this thing plugged in so we can actually get some foam cut here. Now one thing I like to note, when you do cut foam with a wire, never cut straight on that line. If that happens to be your cut line that you want to use, do not cut straight on that line, because essentially this is just melting the foam away. And so what it's going to do is it's going to shrink that line up. So if this needs to be your finish line, make sure that you're cutting out past it, and then you can sand that down, which is what I'm going to do. Because I want to be able to sand right to that line. All right. So a basic cutout for a cat. It's not perfect yet, but it is getting close to what I want to go with. That looks good. So let's get a few little angles on it here. Sorry for the dimness. I'm gonna use this light. But if you can see from the side angle here, it's really following along the mountain structure the way I want it to be. All right, so as you can tell, I have this pretty well designed how I want it to be. And all I ended up doing with this particular portion was just using this U-shaped tool to carve it out. And I had to do a little bit more again off camera just to get this to fit just right. But now that that part's done, if you want to turn around and do anything else, let's try, like if I wanted to make this little hook deal and, you know, make some little scoring edges or something like that. You can certainly do that even with these other tools, just by letting that heat up. And you can make little concave areas in your layout. So like this little area here, I'm gonna do a little concave there. So that way you can see that. So if you wanted to make a little stream area or something, you can actually use that to make part of your stream. So I'm gonna do some sanding here to try to get this thing knocked down. Okay, so I finished up getting it all sanded preliminary. Now I want to go back through and just kind of make a few jagged edges so it's not so much of a hill and it's a little bit more mountainy. It's going to be kind of a bluff area, but I want to give it just a little bit more texture to it, so that way when you put your plaster cloth on it, it will kind of follow the outline of this. So we're going to go through I've already got this heated up a little bit, and we're going to just kind of make a few. Some of the glue is still not 100% dry, the PL200. I tried to get it as dry as I could, but I was on a time crunch today, so I had to kind of work with the time that I had. I would recommend letting this set for 24 hours before you decide to do anything with the foam cutting. But irregardless, this is my little mountain area. I'll go put it on. Let's take a quick peek at the ending of it here. So move my little light around so it's a little bit better. This is kind of still in storage area. But this is my cap. So let's take a look at the side angles here. So as you can tell, as I'm going up that mountain, it's really following along the angle, and as it comes down the other side, it really comes down through that angle. Let's move around over here and do the same thing. Coming up from this left side, it comes up just a little bit more, but that right side really comes down nice. So this is how I do some foam construction, and hopefully this information helps you guys out. If you guys do something different, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. So again, as always, please hit that like and subscribe button, and so you'll be aware of future videos, and we'll look forward to seeing you all again here real soon. Take care, everyone.